Welcome everyone to this new podcast session. We are honored to have with us the visionary behind one of Nigeria's most innovative healthcare solutions, WellaHealth. Our guest today is a leader in the health tech industry whose dedication and passion have driven the success of WellaHealth. Under their leadership, the company has empowered countless individuals with better health management and tools. WellaHealth was the winner of the Creativity Award at the last La Semaine de la Microfinance in Togo, a contest organized by MSC Microsafe Consulting. Join me in welcoming the founder and CEO of WellaHealth, Neto, as we delve into the journey, challenges, and future plans of this remarkable company. Welcome, Neto, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. It's my pleasure to be here.
To start, can you please introduce yourself to the audience? Who is Neto?
Absolutely. So my name is Neto, Dr. Neto. I trained as a physician and practiced medicine for a good few years until I realized that being a doctor, seeing patients in a clinic was only a fraction of what I could do to improve healthcare. And so I dropped being a doctor, seeing patients in clinic, and I became an entrepreneur that's improving healthcare access by providing microinsurance for healthcare.
So, WellaHealth was inspired by your willingness to care for others. What are the real challenges you wanted to address through your company?
The immediate challenge I saw was actually slightly different to the challenge we ended up trying to solve. The reality is that across Africa, healthcare is in a very, very dire state. Things are very poor quality, very expensive. For me as a doctor, my expertise was in chronic disease management. And so I wanted to help people that had diabetes, heart disease, just have better access to care and better quality care. But I thought it was a problem that was related to the way people were using data or the way doctors were giving advice to patients. But when I started my business and looked deeper, I realized that the underlying problem was related to finance. People could not afford the kind of care that they needed, and so they resorted to shortcuts. And that's what prompted me then to work on improving access to financing for healthcare.
What solution do you bring to people in Nigeria? How do your services work?
Yeah, so it's a very simple micro health insurance. So if you look at the way money is spent on healthcare in Nigeria, over 70%, and these data that I'm going to talk about and the scenarios plays out across Africa, whether it's in Cameroon or Senegal or Ethiopia, all across Africa, we have very similar systems. Some places worse than others, of course. But in Nigeria, over 70% of people pay out of pocket for healthcare. What that means is that if you become sick or unwell, you need to have cash in your pockets to pay for that care. Otherwise, you will go without that healthcare. You can imagine how difficult that is. It means that people, are always struggling, trying not to go to a clinic or a hospital. If they do go, they're trying to make sure that they go and get the cheapest option. They're making very hard decisions on their healthcare based off the money they have in their pockets. Now, health insurance is a great way to plan for your healthcare expenditure, and if you like, even save for it. But the challenge, of course, is in Nigeria, for example, there's over 60 health insurance companies, but they cover only 10% of the market. So it's not because there are no health insurance companies. There are lots of them. But why are they focused on only 10% of the market? And that's what we look to solve, is how do we help health insurers access the larger portion of the markets that have healthcare needs, are spending on healthcare, yet don't use health insurance. And what we figured out is a couple of things. One is around affordability. So we created really affordable micro health insurance plans that start around $1 a month. Next is the quality of care. We focused on working with providers, give them the support to give great customer service and great quality of care. And then accessibility. So we use a lot of telemedicine, so you don't necessarily have to go into a facility, but telemedicine not on its own, in conjunction with a network of community pharmacies. Community pharmacies across Africa are everywhere. That's where a lot of people go to first for healthcare. So we've enabled those community pharmacies to provide really great quality care for our $1 a month healthcare insurance plans.
I see. You do not only work with end users, I mean the population, but you also work across the healthcare chain.
Yes, and I think that's why healthcare is very challenging. It's something that you can't just tackle on one side. It's so complex and there's so many interrelated and interconnected parts in healthcare that if you really want to have a good service and something that patients and clients will actually use and enjoy, you have to work with multiple different areas in healthcare. Providers, regulators, clients, partners, all sorts of people.
We know there are many insurance providers in Nigeria. What would you say sets WellaHealth apart from the competition?
I think for us is this focus on the uninsured, focus on the informal market, focus on people that have never had insurance before. A lot of the existing players, they're really interested in existing um, segments that have insurance in the past. They're looking at businesses, they're looking at big businesses, formal workers, but that market is saturated. How about the over 70% of people that are paying out of pocket for healthcare? Who's going to solve health insurance for them? And so that is our explicit focus. We focus on these guys that are informal workers, never had insurance before, but are spending on healthcare. And I think that sets us apart because it affects how we think about delivering the service. It affects how we think about building out the required processes and partnerships we need to service that. Because the reality is that these are two very different segments. If you're going to serve formal workers, you need, nice big hospitals, lots of nice, expensive doctors, nice expensive, labs. But if you're going to serve the mass market where people are very cost conscious, but still give quality, you cannot do these two things at the same time.
So you have decided to focus more on uninsured people. I guess that strategy also comes with more challenges. What are the main challenges you face?
How many hours do you have, Elizabeth?
Not that much, but I guess you can share some with us, one or two.
I mean, every day is a challenge, as you can imagine. But I'll summarize it as the two biggest challenges will be around education and trust. One is that really people don't understand the concept of insurance. And so it takes a lot of time to educate them. But beyond that, even when people understand it, there is a big trust barrier. Lots of people don't believe that if they pay a premium today and they fall sick next month, that you will be there for them. And to be honest, I don't blame them. A lot of times, insurers in the past have been so eager to collect premiums, but when it's time to pay a claim, then the story starts. They say, oh, give me this certificate, give me that file, give me that form, tell me your grandfather's, mother's, uncle's, brother's name. It's so many different requirements that they never asked for at the start. So some of that trust in the insurance industry has lost. So we've had to do a lot of work with educating their clients and also building that trust back. That's on the client side. On the business side, of course, there's difficulties around raising capital, finding the right partners for so many different things, maintaining the quality of service. So it's fairly difficult. Like I say, how long do you have? We can talk about challenges all day long.
I think that will suffice for today. Thank you. Now let's go back to the client's main identified challenges, education and trust, as you mentioned. I also guess you have managed to address them in some ways. Can you share with us a success story of how WellaHealth has positively impacted the lives of its clients?
Absolutely, yes. So many different stories. So I'll talk about two of them. One, we have this client who learned about us online, and thankfully she was a young professional, had a bit of disposable income, but didn't have any health insurance, and she wanted to use this as a startup plan. A lot of times for people that are educated and have a decent job, they are not able to still afford, good insurance. But our insurance is affordable and it's kind of like a starter insurance plan. And so she, got that plan for herself and it was affordable enough, so she got it for her mother. Um, Months passed by and somebody on our team was trying to reach out to her, I think for a testimonial or for some information, but couldn't reach her. Eventually, she called us back and said, oh, you guys have been trying to reach me. I'm sorry. I was away for my mother's burial. And a person said, oh, sorry to hear that, but you do know that your mother had health insurance plan. And in that health insurance plan, there's a life benefit. So we can actually pay out this life benefit to the next of kin of your mother because she was covered when she died. And this person couldn't believe it at all. She said, wow, because when she bought the plan, she didn't, well, I mean, we told her, but she didn't realize that this benefit was available and she had totally forgotten about it. And she didn't believe that it worked. And so she said, really? I'd like to see it. And when I see it, I'll believe it. And we processed the claim within 24 hours, paid the money into her account. And she could not believe that this was actually something that worked. And she came back and was able to actually buy plans for more people in her family. And so again, that idea of building trust by paying claims, having people have a good experience, and then they will be the ones that will go out and talk about the service and bring more people in. So that was a good experience. The other one that I like to talk about is we had this elderly woman who was a trader in the market, and she bought a plan from one of our agents, and the agent came by, and she was a bit unwell, and the agent said, "Oh, you have our plan. You can just go in to that pharmacy up the road that's in our network to receive care." And she was shocked. She said, "You mean I can go into that nice place and somebody will attend to me?" She'd never, ever, because in all her life as a market woman, she was only used to those kind of local medicine people that come to the markets and give her, medicine. She always thought that, those pharmacies, they're too nice, they're too expensive, I'm not for them, I can't go in there, that sort of feeling. But we said, no, you can. And so she, went in, had a great experience, and she came back to the market and said, "You will not believe it. You can go into that nice pharmacy and get really good care for this, affordable monthly price that I pay to WellaHealth." So that's another great story I like to tell.
Totally inspiring. Thank you for sharing those two stories with us. It is always amazing to contribute to other people's life positive changes. That is also what MSA works for. Recently, your team received a training from the Helix Institute on designing high value digital financial services and products for your market. What did you learn from it? How did it help you? Can you share some insight with us?
I think one thing that stands out certainly is kind of putting the customer first is, how do you put the consumer at the center of what we're doing? Sometimes, especially in healthcare, they're the last people we think about, but if you're talking about value for the people you're trying to serve, they should be at the center of how we do things. And it's something we've tried to build, and I think the training has helped to reemphasize that. And we're always looking at how do we put the customer, the consumer at the center of what we're trying to build and ensure that it's valuable to them. And that means that they're able to take it up and they're able to bring people on board.
How will you apply the gain skills and knowledge to your business? You mentioned designing client-centric services. Are there other things you can talk about?
Yeah, I think it's across the board, So thinking about the way we position the product, the types of products that we even try to put out there. So for instance, we are currently working on a maternity benefit. For a long time, we didn't look to do it because we said, oh, it's too difficult. It's going to be too much hassle. But again, a lot of our customers said, this is something that we want and we'd like. And going back to putting the customer first, we have to go figure out how to do it. So it's what are the benefits that customers want, and then figuring out how to deliver those benefits. And I think also it's in how the claims process works, is that, the value of insurance is when people claim. So how can we make the claims process quicker, faster, better? Understanding that when the clock starts ticking for a claim at different times, depending on the perspective. So for us, the clock starts ticking when the customer contacts us. But for the customer, the clock starts ticking when they feel unwell or when something happens. And so we don't see that initial part. And putting the customer first and thinking of value is how do we get in front of the customer so that the moment they feel like they need us, they can reach us a lot quicker.
We can see there is a lot of interesting projects on the way, such as developing maternity benefits, having more efficient client care processes. What else can we expect in the next 2 years from WellaHealth?
Yes, so for us, we really want to go deep. We've sold, hundreds of thousands of healthcare plans. and we want to get to millions. Now, the road there is, again, looking at, focus on the consumer, working with the right partners. A lot of our work has been doing partnerships with microfinance institutions. So if you're working in one and you want to partner with us, please reach out. Also working with enterprises, so commercial banks, mobile network operators. So thinking really about how to work with partners to go deeper, to serve millions of people. And also, the thought about putting the consumer first. Another area we're seeing some growth and we're looking to invest more in is actually diaspora. So we know there's a huge African diaspora that send remittances home. And remittances, a lot of time goes to health and education. But when it goes to health, there's no transparency. The quality is variable. And oftentimes, the person in the diaspora doesn't feel satisfied. They're always worried. So we want to be able to use the learnings we have, the products we have, the expertise we have to support people in the diaspora sending remittances home for healthcare. So they can buy insurance plans, they can give, say, home care, having nurses visit elderly patients, elderly loved ones, or say care for diabetes, etc. So those are some of the things that, we're looking to do, not just in Nigeria, across Africa, in fact. So Africa expansion is on the cards, Francophone Africa, here we come very soon.
Very soon. Next year, we are waiting for you in Senegal.
Senegal is one of my next destinations, in fact, yeah.
To end this interesting discussion, what lesson have you learned that could benefit another fintech in Africa, especially in Nigeria?
I think, and I've addressed it already, is just putting the client first. I think a lot of times, a lot of us working in fintech, in short tech, in tech as a whole, we think of the technology first, or we think of our own solutions first. But really, we should be thinking about the client first. What do our clients need? What are the problems they face? And once we understand that well and put them first, then we can bring the technology to fit and solve that problem. Starting from the technology and working back toward the client, I don't think is the best way to do it. It's client first, technology later.
Client first, technology later. That is what we should remember from this discussion. Dear audience, as we wrap up today's enlightening interview, we want to extend our heartfelt thanks to Neto for sharing such valuable insights into the journey and vision behind WellaHealth. WellaHealth Stories is a testament to the power of perseverance and the positive impact that thoughtful entrepreneurship can have on society. We are excited to see what the future holds for WellaHealth and the continued strides it will make in the realm of healthcare. Thank you once more, Neto, for your time and for the incredible work you are doing. Thank you to our audience for tuning in. Stay connected to the Hub de la Finance Digital for more exciting content. Goodbye.